Hey everyone, Dev with Crime Hive back with another episode, and we're continuing with the Leila Cavett case. And I have here the arrest documents for Shannon Ryan, who was recently arrested for kidnapping Leila. Now, there's still a lot more investigation in the process here as we learn more. Unfortunately, these documents are really pointing to a tragic ending for Leila, and I'm going to share with you all the red flags that lead to that understanding. And at the end of this video, I'm also going to share an update on the Marilane Carter case. She was recently found deceased, and they did release the preliminary cause of death, and we're going to talk about that briefly at the end as well. So again, if you guys are familiar with me, Dev with Crime Hive, consider subscribing to my channel if you enjoy updates on true crime stories and cases. And let's continue with this story here. So we have Shannon Ryan here, and then you've got Leila Cavett, her 2-year-old son, Camden Cavett. And these documents, very eerie. We've learned here, this was just filed 2 days ago on the 17th of August, 2020. And we've learned that Shannon was charged officially with kidnapping. And these facts, these are the facts brought to the court that tell the totality of these circumstances to give investigators probable cause to arrest Shannon Ryan for that charge. So this takes place here, and we know a lot of this story. If you've watched my previous videos, we learned some really new bits of information through this document. So we know on July 26, 2020, about 8 a.m., between 8 and 8:30 a.m., 2-year-old Camden, they're referring to him as KA, so there's going to be initials throughout this, was found wandering around in the apartment complex in Miramar, Florida. That's what really started this case and alerted police to, where is Leila? She's still missing at the time of this video. We learned that she was last driving the white GMC pickup truck. Now, how they really honed in on the pickup truck is through a license plate reader check. Okay, so they knew that she was driving that truck. They had her plate. Through that license plate reader check, they learned it was in that Walmart parking lot. So that's a new piece of information that I hadn't known. We knew it was in the Walmart parking lot, but didn't know exactly how that came about. So we learned it was in that area here just off of 5800 Hollywood Boulevard in Hollywood. So you got the racetrack here and very close to the Walmart. It's nearly connected, not necessarily, but and then also I want to point in here, this is going to come into play here. I believe this right here is the garbage area, pickup area right here for the racetrack, and I'm gonna share why that's important as well as we continue with the affidavit. So we learned that because of that information on July 27th, 2020, they had learned about that. Then law enforcement sets up surveillance on July 28th. All right. What they do is they see Ryan approaching the truck with keys in hand. And that's how they initially make contact with Ryan after this surveillance that was set up. So they start talking with Ryan, and he explains that Leila was coming to Florida to sell her truck. He mentioned the $3,000 in cash. Again, we've got another video where he tells his side of the story, which was very interesting to learn his side of the story. And then what we learned here is he starts telling that they arrived in her vehicle at the racetrack 2:30 p.m. on July 25th. He says they go to the beach together, Fort Lauderdale Beach. They go in his 2004 gold Lexus, is what he tells her. They leave the truck behind. Later on, he says they return to the racetrack and they park at the pumps. This is really important because he says at the pumps at about 2:30 a.m. on July 26th, 2020, Leila and her child had left in a dark sedan with several unknown black males. And he says that that's the last time that he ever saw Leila And so what do you think happens after this story? Law enforcement starts looking through the surveillance cameras, and here comes a red flag where they look at it and they do not see Ryan's car at the pumps where he described it, nor do they show Leila leaving in a dark sedan. So they're scratching their heads already, wondering, do we have deception here? Is it, again, I always talk about that. As soon as law enforcement detects deception, it creates that red flag, and they will hone in on that. Now, what we learned from there is they obtained further video surveillance from where Camden was located, where he was wandering around. And they actually saw a vehicle consistent with Ryan's gold Lexus in front of that apartment complex. Now, it's very unique. It's a very unique vehicle, very distinguishable because of the missing front bumper. Now, they corroborated this evidence with cell phone records, which I'll talk about. I'll actually explain this as well. Now, they through the surveillance, they're still looking through surveillance. They show Ryan's car leaving the gas station at approximately 8:15 a.m. and returning 8:38 a.m. That was the same day when Camden was located. So he was abandoned. They're seeing him leaving the gas station at 8:15, returns 8:38. This is consistent with the time frame in which the child was abandoned and recovered. So a lot of these pieces of evidence are starting to come together already in these documents. Now, they noticed, again, the drive was less than 3 miles from that racetrack to where the child was located, right? Then they started looking through the historical cell site information. So they have Ryan's phone from Sprint. They start looking through that. They see that he utilized a tower in the area where the child was abandoned. Okay, this corroborated that time frame. Then they find out that his car was observed on that video surveillance, right? They start digging further. Now, this was an interesting point I wanted to make here because it shows that Ryan's been using a debit card, and it says it's belonging to CL. Now, this isn't LC, which is Leila Cavett. This may be his friend, Christina, that he talked about being in the hospital with, supporting her during her illness. So this debit card may belong to CL. Some people believed it was Leila's debit card, but from this document, it's saying CL and not LC, which is Leila. So just wanted to point that out. But he did use this debit card, and very disturbing purchases we learn about at the racetrack and Walmart. So July 26th, 2020 at the Walmart. This was at 9:42 a.m. right after the child was abandoned. All right. So they're looking at the video surveillance, store receipts. It shows Ryan purchasing hefty, strong 39-gallon extra large trash drawstring bags, right? And then he's buying 2 boxes of extra strength carpet odor eliminator. 15 minutes later, he goes back into the Walmart. It's saying he purchased an advanced strength duct tape. All right. This is right after the child was abandoned. I mean, just right after. These timestamps just seem to line up, and it's very interesting as we go through this. So they then, on August 9th, we learn about the Facebook social media post. I did have a video about that where Shannon talks about his side of the story. Well, he did mention that there was he had to cover up a window on Leila's vehicle with a garbage bag. And what investigators found looking through the surveillance was that all the windows of her truck were intact at that time. All right, when they were looking through that. They also found out that the rear view mirror on the truck appeared to be mounted and intact. So a lot of discrepancies here between what Ryan's saying and what the evidence is showing. Now, they then were able to get a search warrant for Leila's truck. Okay, then what they find is now they're seeing that the driver's side window was broken. They're seeing that the driver's side visor was bent out of its ordinary position. Okay, and then another disturbing find. They find recovered shovels with droplets of a red substance on them. You can't definitively say it's blood. It may look like blood. They have to say red substance because it needs to be tested. We don't know at this point, right? It could be an animal's blood, could be something else, but still very disturbing. The tests that will come in will show exactly what that is soon as we learn more. Now, further evidence that we learned here, and this is stuff that I had not heard about previously, and we learned that law enforcement interviewed a friend of Ryan, and this friend said that he saw Ryan on July 26th, right? Advised Ryan attempted to sell him a white GMC pickup truck for approximately $1,000. Very odd, right? That Ryan was apparently in his other video wanting to buy this truck from Leila, according to his statement, and he was going to purchase it for $3,500. And yet there's a friend now all of a sudden saying that Ryan's trying to sell him the truck for $1,000. Just another red flag right there. Now, they also on August 15th, 2020, they execute a search warrant for Ryan's Lexus. More disturbing finds, right? They find a half-empty container of all-purpose cleaner with bleach, numerous black trash bags, and a white powdery substance under the front passenger seat. That could be the odor eliminator that was mentioned above. Doesn't really mention that, but also could be a drug. White powdery substance is commonly referred to as cocaine, but speculation here. Don't know exactly. It doesn't mention that. A lot of those things probably need to be tested, and they are through forensics labs. So law enforcement then conduct interviews of employees at the racetrack, and they learned that an employee recognized a picture of Ryan and saw Ryan using the racetrack dumpster. That's why I showed a picture of that, because he apparently was seen hanging around that dumpster. Now, and I'll tell you here about the surveillance here that's going to point out about that as well. But they see another employee recognizes children's toys and women's clothing inside that dumpster on or around July 26, 2020. One recognizes a distinct pair of floral pants worn by Leila in a picture shown to them. Very disturbing information, right? Now, they recovered that surveillance footage on July 26th, 2020, where Ryan can be observed parking his Lexus in front of the racetrack dumpster. Very disturbing as we continue through the forensics of this. Now, they did do a forensic extraction of his iPhone, and they reveal Google searches from July 26, 2020. What they find there, very disturbing, because July 26th, that date, obviously very important in this case, 12:01 a.m., he's searching, or somebody on that phone, his phone right there, can't necessarily say he, until evidence corroborates, but it's his phone, right? Ryan's phone. What day does commercial garbage pickup for Hollywood, Florida? That's the search that's put in at 12:01 a.m. Now, I don't know about you, but at 12:01 a.m., who is searching for garbage pickup in Hollywood, Florida, right? Another search, 1:45 a.m. the same day. Does bleach and alcohol make chloroform? And obviously they have a description here saying that it can render someone unconscious. Now, I actually put in that search as well. And from a lot of different searches, from what I found, it does appear that bleach and alcohol, if mixed, actually can create chloroform. If you're not familiar with chloroform, many of you are from a lot of other shows and things like that, it can be inhaled. It can cause serious respiratory issues. It actually lists here these risks here where it can affect damage to your eyes, lungs, nervous system, liver, kidneys, can cause cancer. But the biggest thing, the immediate risk right here, is that it acts as a powerful anesthetic and can cause unconsciousness or sudden sniffer's death, is what they call it, a fatal cardiac arrhythmia. Okay, so very, very disturbing to learn about that, right? We continue through here, and this isn't too long of an affidavit. I'm actually almost through the affidavit here, so there's not too much more. Again, if I had the actual police reports, there would be a lot more detailed information leading into this. But this is just the supporting facts to arrest Ryan. There's a lot more going on beyond just this set of facts that we know right here. Now, they interviewed witnesses, including family members of Leila, and they said that Leila would never leave her child alone with anyone. There were reports that she was still breastfeeding, and she would just simply not leave her child with anyone else. They showed that Leila was very active on social media, used Facebook Messenger quite a bit as a regular means of communication, stopped using that after July 26, 2020. No activity on her accounts. Huge red flag. From just that information right there, it's looking like a tragic ending for Leila, and it's very unfortunate. But when you look through all those events, something sinister has most likely happened to Leila, and now it's just a matter of where is she. The family is obviously very distraught, want to know where she's at, want some form of closure, whatever that may be. It's a very sad case. We're going to learn more. There's going to be more information coming out. I will be back with another video. Now, I'm going to transition back to the Marilane Carter case for just a minute. This will be very short. If you've watched this far, again, consider subscribing to my channel as I come up with more updates on these true crime cases. And the last thing I want to point out on this video is the update with Marilane Carter. They did have a preliminary cause of death in her case, and due to her mental health issues, it's looking like it may not have been any type of accident, may not have been foul play, may have been intentional, may have been suicide. And I'll just say it right out there that what they've released here is Marilane Carter. We learned that her vehicle was found in a shipping container in a field. This was on private property. A family member actually found out about this, and officials gave more information. I believe it's saying that positive identification of the body is still pending. A lot of factors lead people to believe that it is her. It's just we need that final confirmation. They believe that she may have driven into the shipping container and died from asphyxiation, which would be due to the carbon monoxide poisoning. And so what they found was her vehicle was running. The ignition was on and it was running inside that container. So if it's running for a long duration of time, someone can die. And and unfortunately, it's a very common form of suicide. A lot of people in the past, and I've actually unfortunately been a part of many of these cases here with this type of suicide. I've seen this numerous times, and it happens a lot of different forms of it, but many times somebody that is at the end of the ropes, they've lost all hope in life. They have resorted to ending it, and unfortunately it's very sad. They'll let the car run in a garage, typically. In a garage doors closed, vehicle's running, and the person dies of asphyxiation. So really sad. We've learned about that. That's a tragic ending to Marilane. So it's just a lot going on, obviously, and I wanted to give you guys that update, though, as we learn more about this case. I'm sure the family's just heartbroken over this. She leaves behind a family, a husband, children, and so wanted to give you guys that update. I will be back with more videos. Again, this is Dev with Crime Hive.